Okay, well, hello there, my abundant healers. I'm so happy to have you back here for part 3 of our 4-part video series on creating an online course to scale and promote your practice in order to generate the kinds of clients and cash flow that you really want in your business, right? And of course, this is all while honoring your soul purpose and mission. Now, if you're just jumping in on this party bus, you can check out our previous videos on my blog. The first one we did was seeing the bigger picture, including an assignment for expanding your vision of success. The second one we did was called The Life and Death of a Good Idea. And today we are going to talk about 3 must-haves in a successful sellable course. Okay. Now, I believe that if your course does not have these 3 things, it will not sell, period. And here's a spoiler alert. It's not tech savvy or a gazillion years of business experience that are going to make the difference. And I know because I tried selling a bunch of courses without really tapping into these 3 things, and my website ended up a graveyard. But rather than giving up, I decided to invest good money in real business coaching instead of one-off freebies, which I was collecting like they were going out of style. And it was actually so much money, in fact, that it made me a little nauseous to do it. But within 1 month, I made my money back. It was $8,000. And then within 3 months, I had doubled it with a launch when I launched a live group coaching program. So I made about $6,000 on that launch. And now I bring in consistently up to about $10,000 a month in online revenue, and I do it through passive income funnels and live group coaching programs. So you want to make sure that you stick with me throughout this video series, because today we're going to talk about the 3 must-haves. And in the last video we're going to talk about sales funnels and how, now that you have this amazing idea for your course, you're going to be able to step into selling it through sales funnels. Now, I'm doing this 4-part video series because I'm promoting a challenge that we're going to start doing on Monday, the 24th. It's called Badass Content Creation 5-Day Challenge. Okay, so if you have enjoyed this video series and you're interested in building out your course and getting a little bit more into the nitty-gritty, I invite you to sign up through the link in the caption of this video for our Build Your Badass course. Okay, so I hope you'll join me. Now, for the subject of today's video, let's just dive into the first of the 3 must-haves. And I believe that is, you must have a firm grasp of your mission. Okay, so why do you do what you do? And to my mind, that is really made up of personal mission moments, as well as your client avatar, the profile of your client avatar. And so I'm going to start with the personal mission moments because that leads into your client avatar, what I refer to as your soul client's profile. Okay, so a mission moment is like some moment in your life that had a significant impact on you, positively or negatively, and that compels you, inspires you, motivates you to step out on this journey. So whatever you may be practicing in your niche, and if you're on this call, you're probably a therapist, coach, and/or healer, and you're in the helping and healing professions, right? So what led you down this path? What made you want to do this kind of work? And I find that usually, particularly with this audience, it's because they've had some kind of experience with this work that was a game changer for them, right? That shifted their trajectory, that changed their path in life. And that was true for me too. I came to doing this kind of work because I had sort of a dark night of the soul. I always knew I wanted to do something in art therapy. I always was an artistic kid. That was never really the issue for me. But figuring out that I could do it the way I wanted to do it and how I wanted to do it and still make money, because even though I was doing it the way that I loved, was a possibility. And so really I had to kind of get to my lowest point before I could shed enough of my fear in order to take that leap. So a couple of years ago, it actually coincided with a significant heartbreak and miscarriage. I had been divorced a couple of years. I met a new person and was someone that I was madly in love with, who stimulated all the raw parts of myself. And I so desperately wanted to please and to keep him because I wasn't really loving myself. I felt like I could only love myself if I could love him enough. And when he left, I found out that I was pregnant and I miscarried and I was broke. I also lost my job around that time, and I had 3 close family members diagnosed with chronic and serious illnesses. And so it was this coalescence of all these different things. And I just sort of had nothing left to lose. I was also living on welfare at the time. So I was like, I've got all these degrees. I've done all these things in my life and career for the purposes of avoiding this very thing, being an impoverished single mother. And that's what I was. So it was kind of like there was nowhere left for me to go. Like I could either take a leap and do what I wanted to do because there was nothing left to lose, or I could just try to keep banging my head against the wall, doing the things I had always done that had landed me right where I was. So that was a mission moment for me. And it really allowed me to collect all of the angst that I had over the years and transform it into something that was something I actually loved to do. And that now I'm doing every day, getting it here in front of the camera with you, wonderful people. And also behind the scenes when I'm building out my course curriculums and talking to the people that I'm working with in my live group coaching programs, right? And so when I thought about who I wanted to work with, who I wanted to appeal to, particularly for this program, which is the Abundant Healer 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online, I knew I wanted to work with other therapists, coaches, and healers like myself who were struggling with burnout and or stagnancy in their businesses, who were really frustrated with running after insurance companies and then not valuing themselves or taking a risk on their dreams because they wouldn't invest in themselves because insurance companies wouldn't invest in them. And then really wanting to help them step into their own and honor what they felt was their sole purpose and mission, and doing it in a way that they loved so that they didn't feel burnt out or taxed or like they had to abandon the creative aspects of themselves in order to make a living, right? So that's really my soul mission, which is to empower therapists, coaches, and healers to take those leaps without necessarily having to, just survive or just scrape by or even, hit their lowest point like the way I had to. I got one hell of an ego. I really had to just break that bad boy down before I could surrender and expand, right? Okay, now the second one is context. Okay, so number one, you need to be very clear about your mission. And number two, you have to be really clear about context. What do I mean by that? Well, you want to think about who are your soul clients and what were they doing just before they reached out to you? And where would they rather be? Okay, so I think of this as the client journey. You want to think about where were they just before they came to speak with you, and you might even think about where were they a step before that. Now that they're working with you, where do they want to go? And then you start to think about, where do I fit in, right? How do I move them throughout these stages, right? And you want to think of it as stages. Think of it as like a developmental theory, right? We love developmental theories. Who doesn't love it, like a stage theory? It lets you know where you are, what you can expect to feel, what you can expect to struggle with, right? Your developmental crises, and also what the resolution of that crisis might look like, and then what you can expect in the next stage. Who doesn't love that? So you want to be, if you're selling a course, you want to be very clear on where they are in their own client journey. What stage are they in their own developmental process, right? And then what you want to do is, once you know that, once you hone in on that, once you have identified and clearly explained that to your soul clients, then you're going to stretch the gap. You're going to show them exactly where they are missing a beat. And then you're going to show them how you specifically are going to bridge that gap for them, or at least show them how to bridge it for themselves, right? How are you going to do that? Well, that leads us into the third must-have, and that is tools, okay? You must know and be able to describe and package and concretize the tools that you are using. Now, I know a lot of people who are therapists, coaches, and healers feel that their work is intuitive, and they kind of get stuck in this comparisonitis where they say, well, my work is intuitive and it's organic and it doesn't translate well online. Bullshit. I'm sorry, but that's complete BS. There's plenty of ways that you can translate those things online. It's just a matter of understanding, breaking down what you're doing step by step, and then how do we recreate them in ways that can be accessible through this medium. Okay, so how specifically does what you have to offer going to help them bridge the gap? Okay, and specifically the gap between their pain and their pleasure points. Because remember, wherever they are in that stage theory, right, where they've been is typically where they've experienced the most pain, and where they want to go is where they're anticipating an avoidance of pain and an increase of pleasure, right? What's the benefits of transforming it all? Okay, so there's a couple things you want to include in your tools, and that is the measurable outcomes. For those of you that have therapists out there who have written treatment plans, You're old hack at this. Don't say you can't do this because your work is intuitive. You are old hack at this. Think about every treatment plan you've ever had to write. Maybe this is a benefit of the system that we live in, but you have to come up with the measurable outcomes, right? So for example, a health coach might say, lose 10 pounds in 3 weeks, right? Or 10 pounds in 4 weeks. Or, for a therapist, you might say, well, I'll just give you what I say, which is that you will be able to identify your feeling states. You will be able to name with confidence, 3 triggers for your relapse or something like that. Like that's an example of a measurable outcome, right? Now, you also want to think about what are they physically going to walk away with? And in an online course, that's like videos, right? So let's say you're putting together a 6-week signature course, which is what I teach you to do in my program, The Abundant Healer. So in that time, maybe you decide that for each lesson, there's going to be 1 20-minute didactic lecture, recorded lecture, okay? So they're going to walk away with 6 didactic lectures and recorded videos for all time, right? Maybe you have a written article and a worksheet that allows them to engage with the lecture as they're watching it. So you're going to walk away with 6 downloadable PDFs and worksheets to complete homework assignments. And then maybe, so now I usually include an arts-based tutorial and a guided visualization, downloadable guided visualizations. So then I'd say you also walk away with, 6 downloadable guided visualizations and 6 arts-based tutorials, right? So you're just enumerating it. Now, for example, let's say you're a dance movement therapist and you're like, well, they don't have to make art, like it's just movement. So then what are dance films about? What are exercise films about? What are, you can film that. You can put that on camera. And then if you need to, you can explain the technique with a voiceover, okay? You can add music to it. There's so much that you can relay. Okay, and also the other thing you want to get over, remember I talked about with comparisonitis, you want to make sure that you're not comparing whatever comes out in the content for your course to the experience of being in the room, because you're not sacrificing one for the other. They're apples and oranges, but you're using one to guide them to whatever it is you ultimately want them to do, and that's called your product ladder. So your online course is basically like a mid-level thing. Like let's say you're someone who prefers to practice in person. Okay, and whether you're trying to get people to attend a workshop, you're trying to get them to attend a retreat, you're trying to get them just to come in for private sessions. If you give them 6 weeks of a sample of what it is that it's like to work with you and what it is that you might have to offer, then they're much more, they already know you coming in. They're much more capable of self-selecting, right? So you're helping your clients make more informed decisions about their engagement with you, okay? Now you also want to think about what new skills will they have as a result of this particular course, okay? And that is something, example like I gave before, being able to identify their triggers, whatever. In my instance, it will be able to implement guided visualization as a way of managing anxiety, for example. Being able to use squiggle drawings and artistic expression as a way to foster a sense of felt security in a relationship, right? So here are some examples of things that they would walk away with. And those are all things you would want to include in your marketing copy, of course, right? So I have an assignment for you for today's video, and there's only 2 parts. So the first part is you're going to answer the question, what is your mission and who do you want to help? Okay, so this is really that essential piece of your course curriculum and development, because that's what's going to sing straight to the hearts of your soul clients. Because if you're not clear on your mission, you won't be able to identify the proper context for your clients or how your tools are going to help bridge that transformational gap that we talked about, right? So in the comments below, I would love it if you would let us know your mission by completing this sentence that I have in the caption of this video, and to post it just in the comments below. So it's kind of a Mad Libs. So you start by saying, I help, then you insert your population, struggling with, what are 2 of their biggest pain points and struggles, right? Achieve, what do you want them to achieve? What do they want to achieve? In, and here you're going to add a metric and or a time frame, okay? Without, and this is where we are going to talk about the avoidance of pain. So what are they trying to avoid? What do they not want to have to deal with, okay? So I'm going to just give you the example from my program. The Abundant Healer Signature Program is a 90-day intensive and one-stop shop that teaches therapists, coaches, and healers how to create, launch, and scale an online practice, even if they have never made $1 online, created a single lesson, and have no marketing list. All without having to waste a ton of time, money, and effort on experts and gurus or piecemealing a bunch of different programs together. Okay. Now, the last piece that you want to be aware of, but may not necessarily be part of your direct marketing, is your why. Okay. So why do you do this work? How do you personally benefit from it? Okay. And so this is your internal emotional inspirations and motivations. And I find that if you ask yourself that question 7 times, you will eventually find the true emotional core of what drives you. Blake Snyder calls this your primal urge. Okay. So I want to just read you an example from my own mindset journal. And I make sure to ask myself this question 7 times pretty frequently, because sometimes the answer comes out different and I want to make sure I know what's motivating me. Okay. So number 1, you would just ask, why do you do what you do? Or you might say, why do I do what I do? And in my example, I said, because I want to have freedom and choices and I want to obtain those things creatively doing what I love. Well, why do you want to have a lot of freedom and choices? So I can do whatever I want. What would you do if you had freedom and choices to do whatever you want? I would travel and I would invest in creative projects. Well, what kind of creative projects? Projects that bolster my community as a therapist and offer more live in-person workshops like retreats and things like that. Why those projects? What do you hope to accomplish? Well, I want to elevate the creative arts therapies field, raise awareness, build community, and facilitate positive experiences for practitioners and clients alike. I'm not quite getting to the core yet, but it's getting there, right? You can see like this sounds really nice, but what's the personal motivation? So then you ask, well, why would you want to do that? I want to help people feel good about themselves and to feel inspired. Well, why do you want to make people feel good and inspired? Because if I can create a meaningful experience for someone, then maybe I will mean something to them. And thus I will matter and feel connected, and I will be inspired by them in turn. Okay. And so, as I said before, sometimes my 7th answer also changes sometimes. And every time I do this exercise, I have a new insight about my mission and what I'm all about. And in this instance, I became increasingly aware that my worthiness stuff and my deservedness issues were kind of sneaking up on me again. I wanted to feel seen. I was avoiding, and I was avoiding that. I was kind of battling this feeling of insignificance within myself. And so whenever you're at war with yourself, you have to stop and just kind of sit with that conflict, letting the feelings kind of come up and move through you, because otherwise you start to introduce resistance into your vibe, and that's going to mess with your business and your profits. Okay? Because money is just an energetic expression of value. And if at the core of everything I'm doing lies a doubt about my value, then my mission is really headed for a derailment. Okay? And so at the basis of it, instead, I want to identify and plant those positive feelings of connectedness and freedom and choice, and make sure that that's really what is at the root of it. Okay? So then you want to find a way to make those feelings come alive in the now, right? And if it involves a certain kind of activity, like maybe it's meditation, maybe it's drawing, whatever it is that can help you stimulate that feeling in the moment, you want to try to enact it pretty immediately. Literally schedule them into your calendar. Okay. So I want you to let me know in the comments below, what is your why? And if you're enjoying this live stream series and you're getting kind of excited about the idea of building your own online course, then I want to make sure that you know we have a Badass Course Creation 5-day challenge coming up. Okay, I mentioned that at the beginning of this video. There's a link to sign up for it in the caption of this video. If you do decide to join the Badass Creation Challenge, Course Content Creation Challenge, you will walk away with, and notice here what I'm doing, these are your measurables, okay? You're gonna walk away with a visionary schedule to ground your abundant vibe in reality and start reverse engineering your dreams. You're gonna have a money mindset practice that you can use every day to shift your money mentality. You're gonna be conducting market research to help you position your online course in your niche. You're going to have a 4-phase stage theory to contextualize the content for your clients, right? You're going to have a comprehensive overview of sales funnels and how they work. You're going to have a free training on building transformative curriculum content and a 1-page pitch for your course. And there will also be a live Q&A on day 5 plus a bonus offer, okay? And so this challenge is really for you if you're in private practice and you're ready to sort of bust through the ceiling of that one-to-one business model. If you are just starting out and you're overwhelmed by the cost of renting space, trying to establish referral networks and or struggling with how to market yourself effectively. If you are working in the field and you're just tired of all the bureaucratic BS that hinders your ability to do your job effectively, let alone with an ounce of pleasure, right? If you're interested in working with your sole purpose, right? And with soul clients that are eager and dedicated to working with you and to showing up for their own transformational processes, okay? And or if you're just craving a creative outlet and an opportunity to share your message while bringing in some passive income and or hosting live group coaching programs online. So if any of that appeals to you, then this program is perfect for you. This challenge in particular, and I invite you to sign up for it. We're going to be starting on September 4th, 2018. So make sure you enroll, and I look forward to seeing you for our fourth and last video in this series where we are going to give you a little introduction to sales funnels so you can understand how, once you've developed this course, it actually makes contact with your soul clients. So thank you, and don't forget to post your assignments in the comments below. What is your mission, okay, and why is it your mission?